Hello and welcome to Love It Film. My name is Jamie and I couldn't be any more excited for today's show. We have an actor who is a part of my favorite universe of all time, the Miyagi-verse. We have Sean Kanan, who played Mike Barnes in the 1989 movie The Karate Kid Part 3, the bad boy of karate. He also came back to reprise his role in Cobra Kai. He was everything we wanted him to be. Since then, Sean is a daytime Emmy award-winning actor. He starred in shows such as Studio City on Amazon Prime, which he actually created himself. He also starred as Deacon Sharp in the hit show The Bold and the Beautiful on CBS. So it's incredible to have him here today, and I'm freaking out a little bit. We have one of the Cobras. So without further ado, let's get into the interview.
Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Sean, pleasure to meet you, man. How are you?
Hey, brother. Good.
Thank you so much for coming.
Where are you in Ireland?
I'm in Dublin. I'm born and raised here, so I'm a little bit in the suburbs out of the city. Have you ever been?
I haven't been, but I have a grandmother who passed away, and I knew she was partially Irish. And so I did my 23andMe, and I'm proud to say that not only do I have the Irish name, but I actually have some Irish blood. So
Oh,
I'm on
wow.
the team.
Yeah, you're welcome on the
I
team.
would, I would very much, I would very much like to go at some point. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it.
Fantastic. So, Sean Kanan, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It's not every day that we have a daytime Emmy award winning actor, somebody who's been on many things, in particular, some things that are close to my heart. I'm a huge fan of the Karate Kid trilogy, and the third one happens to be my favorite of the three. I love that movie.
Really?
I
Wow.
know not everyone says the third one's their favorite, but it is my favorite. You know, it's just so different. I love Terry Silver. I love your character, Mike Barnes. It's badass. I love the
Thanks,
movie.
brother. I appreciate you.
So, by all means. Now, The Karate Kid Part 3, I'd imagine back in the 80s, 1988, John Avildsen, the director of Rocky, two movies out already. The audition process for that must have been intense. What was it like?
So, Jamie, how we all carry memories of the most seminal, important events in our life in our head. And sometimes, over time, those memories change, we embellish, things happen, right? Well, I was being interviewed by Entertainment Tonight just before season 5 of Cobra Kai dropped. I was on the set of Bold and the Beautiful. And I said, wow, this is so surreal because 35 years ago, you guys, meaning Entertainment Tonight, were there at my audition for Karate Kid 3 at the open call. And the guy said, we're going to find that audition. And so they found it. I hadn't seen it in 35 years. So if you go on YouTube or Google and just put Sean Kanan, Entertainment Tonight, this huge piece comes up and you see me in line. I'm 22 years old, and you see the exact moment that John Avildsen comes up to me, and I knew I had seconds to get his attention, and it was exactly as I remembered it. It was so indelibly ingrained in my memory because it was such an important, part of my life, both as an actor and as a person. And my recollection was like spot on. So if anybody wants to see it, go Google Sean Kanan and Entertainment Tonight, and you will see exactly what it was like.
I've seen it myself, and all I was thinking was, man, I was like 22 years old, that young age. That must have been like winning the lottery. I mean, especially as a
Oh
young
my
actor
God.
in LA,
Oh my,
dude. I
I
mean,
mean,
John
you know,
Avildsen coming up to picking you up in the line. It was just watching the video. I was like fascinated by that very prospect. And I saw another video where you were doing a little bit showing your martial arts and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Did you have a baseline of karate or martial arts
I did.
before you?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd studied for several years. Um, yeah, it was pretty incredible. My I was studying karate in Pennsylvania, my hometown, and our school joined Sensei Fumio Demura's school. Sensei Demura, who we lost him about 2 years ago, was a master. He was actually called Shihan Demura, and Shihan is a title above Sensei, which is bestowed upon someone from the Emperor of Japan. So it's almost like being knighted. So anyway, Demara Sensei was Pat Morita's stunt double. And so he knew that I was, I moved out to LA and I was trying to pursue my career in acting. And he said to me, he goes, Sean, they look for the new bad guy. You go make audition. And I was like, oh, okay. And so he told me about the open call, and why that was so important that he was kind of on my team was I was such an unknown commodity, Jamie. I mean, I had barely done any acting work, just started acting class. And, this is the third installment of a very successful franchise. And he went to bat for me and said, look, he's a good kid, you know, he'll be serious, da da da. Da. And they had such respect for Demera that that was, I think, something that kind of put the seal of approval on for them, and was very instrumental in my getting the role.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss. He sounds like a very good
Yeah,
man. I mean, it
incredible.
must have been just fascinating to be in a world where I heard before you said you were a fan of the Karate Kid movies before you came on the movie. Suddenly you find yourself on set with Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita doing scenes, and you have Thomas Ian Griffith. What was it like working with those guys and just going from Sean Kanan, up and coming actor, to Mike Barnes, the new bad boy of karate?
Um, well, first of all, from the time I was a little kid, I used to run home from school at lunch and I'd watch Happy Days. So for me, Pat Morita was Arnold in Happy Days before he was ever Mr. Miyagi. So I already knew who he was. I always say this. I was a guy that bought a ticket to go see the Karate Kid. I was a guy that bought a ticket to go see the Karate Kid too. And then suddenly, here I am, and I'm the guy. I'm on set with these people that I've only seen, and I had to get over the pinch me moment phase pretty quickly, because it became very apparent that this was a big budget film. There was a lot riding on it. And so, very quickly I got over that, and had to work very hard, both to learn the fight choreography, to work on, the acting aspects of it. There was so much that I didn't know, with any business, any industry, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or you're working, on a construction site, there's a language that the people use, right? And if you're not a part of it, you don't know it. If somebody says code blue stat, you don't, we all know it from watching TV now, but you don't know what it means. Same thing with the movie industry. There were all sorts of terms that were being thrown around that I didn't know. So I mean, I really was a fish out of water, and had to very quickly learn a lot. But I'll tell you, um, I couldn't have asked for a better experience to give me a quantum leap as an actor. You can study an acting class and it's super important, but there really is nothing like on the job experience. And I got that for months and months making the film.
You did a great job. You were
Thank you.
badass. You were Mike Burns. I mean, you did the job right. Willie, I remember watching the movie as a kid
Thank
and
you.
going, I was afraid of you. I was like, I'd hate if this guy was in my school. He'd scare the crap out of me,
Dude, listen, if I had met Mike Barnes when I was 16, he would have scared the shit out of me too.
Yeah, I can tell you're a nice guy. You're nothing like Mike. Now, I
Well,
heard something too about the movie that isn't, it's probably, well, definitely not a good experience. I heard you had a near death experience while filming. What happened?
so I'll just preface it by saying I just did a TEDx speech, which people can go find. And I talk extensively about this experience. But long story short, we were filming for about a month. We broke for Christmas. I went to Las Vegas. I was having some significant pain in my upper left thigh, which I attributed to all the martial arts I was doing. I just thought I was sore. So I was taking a lot of aspirin. Well, the pain was caused by internal bleeding, which was dripping on my femoral artery, and the aspirin exacerbated the bleeding. Um, Christmas Day, 1988, I passed out in Las Vegas. Um, was rushed to the emergency room, and they told me that they had to operate. I thought that meant Monday. They meant 15 minutes, and things got very real very quickly. And I made it through the surgery. Woke up, had a 12-inch wound on my abdomen. It was held together by surgical staples. And the first thing I thought about was, what about the role? What am I going to do? I didn't have to wait very long. John Avildsen called me and basically said, you got 2 weeks to come back, or we're going to have to fire you. So Like the first day after the surgery, I got out of my bed and I walked to the hospital. I walked to the bathroom in my hospital room, and after that, it was about 10 feet. I collapsed in the bed. The next day, I was able to walk around the entire floor outside my room. And then a couple days after that, I was walking around 3, 4 times and had the medical staff discharge me against medical advice. And I went and recuperated for about a week or so, and then started back in the gym. And ultimately, they kept me in the film, and I performed all my own martial arts stunts.
Oh my God, wow. I can't imagine that, as in winning the lottery and then you have this thing in your head that it could be taken away from you. It must have been
Yeah.
terrible. I'm
Yeah.
glad you recovered and I'm glad you finished the movie and you're
Oh, me
now
too.
immortalized as this character forever. And 30 some odd years later, you're back at it. You're Mike Barnes again in
Right.
the biggest show in the world, Cobra Kai, which is
Isn't that
my favorite
incredible?
show. It's incredible. It is. That's the only word that comes to mind. When
Yeah.
did that come about? When season one of Cobra Kai was released during production, did you know you were going to come back as Mike Barnes, or was it later
Well,
down the line?
I didn't know. I sure hoped. I sure hoped that I did. And by the time we got to season 4, and I wasn't in it, they called me and they said, "Yeah, it's not going to happen in season 4." I was like, "It's getting a little late in the game here, guys." But I believe that things happen for a reason in life. And by the time I joined the cast in season 5, it had gone from being this small show on YouTube Red to being the number one show in the world on Netflix. So eh, even though I had to wait, it actually was fortuitous because it worked out well for me because I got, it's not often that you get to join a show that's already a hit show. A lot of times an actor does a show and it hasn't aired yet. And then, sometimes it never airs. If it does air, sometimes it's not successful. It gets pulled off quickly. But to join the cast of a show that's already the number one show in the world it's an unbelievable feeling, you know. And it was incredible to reprise a role that I had done 35 years prior. You just don't get that opportunity very often, to get another bite at the apple. And now, 35 years later, I'm an actor with much, much more experience, many more tools in the toolbox. And I was able to bring, a lot of different colors and evolution to the character. So it was an incredible opportunity.
It was great, and I just love that. The best thing about that show is these characters that can be seen in such a black and white lens. Johnny Lawrence, Mike Barnes. I love
Right.
that show. The writers gave you guys such more depth to your character. There was so much more to Mike Barnes. He didn't like how he acted back in the 80s. He had a furniture shop, he had a marriage, he was a much more normal guy now.
Yeah.
And I just,
When the big three talked to me about coming on the show, they said, "Do you have any suggestions?" And I was like, "Well, guys, I mean, far be it from me to tell you how to, how to write your number one show in the world." I said, "Given that, there's two things that I would really love to see. One is that I want to see evolution of the character. Nobody stays the same after 35 years. Maybe he became a much worse guy, went to prison. I don't know. Maybe he became a better guy, but I want to give more depth and show change what happened to this guy since we last saw him." And I said, the other thing is, I really want to bring some humor to it because at the core, the essence of Cobra Kai, it's funny. There's a lot of humor to it. And to their credit, we were really able to find some moments where Mike Barnes is actually pretty funny.
yeah. He is. He's so funny, especially with Chosen, where he was like, "Oh, I'm going to give you a deal," and it's like this way higher number than normal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just so
yeah.
funny. And I know, like back in the day, you worked with, of course, Ralph Macchio, Thomas Ian Griffith, Martin Cove. Did you ever meet Billy Zabka before coming on to
So
Cobra
this is a
Kai?
funny
Because
story. I had done one. I had done two professional jobs before Karate Kid 3. One was an absolutely god awful stinks on ice horror film. The second was I was the guest star on a television show for Fox, which was called Werewolf. And the other co-star on the show was Billy Zabka's best friend. So Billy came to the set, and I was all, fanboy. I mean, I was like, "Oh, it's Billy Zabka," and we hung out, and I got to know Billy. So I actually met Billy in 1988 before I even auditioned for Karate Kid 3. Of course, we didn't work together in Karate Kid 3. And so by the time I got to work with Billy on Cobra Kai, I was ecstatic because I've known Billy for decades. Uh, Tremendous guy. Love Billy. We've always had a really fun energy together. He's a really funny guy and he's got a great heart. And but that being said, I definitely wanted to throw down with him, and I think the fans wanted to see it too. So it was a lot of fun for us to be able to finally have that Mike Barnes, Johnny Lawrence confrontation.
I mean, myself speaking from the fans, we did want that, and it was amazing. I love that scene when he's talking, when Johnny comes into yourself, and he's like, "Oh, I want to get Devin into give her a chance." That fight was, it was incredible. If you were enjoying this show, why not leave a review on Apple Podcasts? Believe it or not, really helps out the show. If you want to help out the show further, we also have a Patreon, and if you subscribe to our Patreon, a little goes a long way. We have exclusive content there that can help you in becoming a filmmaker. Now, of course, you're Mike Barnes, but you've also done a lot of other things. You were Deacon Sharp in The Bold and the Beautiful. You have your own show, Studio City. Did this lengthy acting experience help when making your own show like Studio City?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, uh, I've probably done 25 films. I've done 2,000 episodes of network television, and accruing that kind of experience gave me a lot to draw on when creating Studio City. A lot of the characters in it are amalgamations of multiple people that I've worked with over the years. Um, they always say write what you know, and for better or for worse, there's not too many people who know more than me about what it's like to be a guy on a soap opera. I've done it for off and on for 30 years. So that's what we wrote. And it was amazing that it was so well received. We won the Emmy for Outstanding Limited Drama. And, we're talking now about possibly doing another season. A lot of it comes down to whether or not I have time because I'm contracted right now to do several other projects, but it's so near and dear to my heart that I would really love to see the show continue.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, not just making shows, but you wrote a book, The Way of the Cobra, as well. With The Way of the Cobra, I haven't gotten the chance to read the book, but I will. For people who haven't read it, what can you tell us about the book?
So, Way of the Cobra is my third book. It's the first in a series of three in the Way of the Cobra trilogy. COBRA is an acronym. It stands for character, optimization, balance, respect, and abundance. The book is set up that I'm the sensei. You're in my dojo, the dojo of life, and that the chapters are divided into belts. So we take you from white belt to black belt. These are the philosophies and the strategies that I've used to make some monumental changes in my life. I found myself at a point one time when I was like 50 pounds overweight. I was really struggling with addiction, a lot of other stuff, and I turned it around. And if I can do it, you can do it. And so I put all of that into the book. And then there's a sequel, which is called Welcome to the Kumite, which is about fighting the greatest battle that you'll ever fight against your toughest opponent, which of course is yourself. And how do you beat someone who knows everything about you, all your insecurities, all your fears? While you do it by experiencing a metaphoric death every day and being reborn the next day as a better, stronger, tougher, wiser, kinder version of who you were the day before. And it's a never ending loop. The most recent book is called Way of the Cobra Couples, and couples implies two. So I needed a guest sensei, which is my wife, Michelle. And this is a book about, turbocharging your relationship. Um, People ask us all the times, have you had a successful relationship in Hollywood, which is not the easiest place to have it? Or if you're single and you're tired of spinning your wheels and ready to find the right one for you, this is the book, and they're all available on Amazon.
I'll definitely read it, and I think people who haven't would find it interesting, especially people who are navigating, say, a relationship in the crazy industry that you work in. And speaking
Absolutely.
of that industry, what was it like as, say, a young man in his 20s after the Karate Kid 3, dealing with such a, you know, dangerous industry, a industry full of, say, being turned down and stuff like that? What was that like? I know it's probably a very loaded question.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about being turned down, and one of the most difficult aspects, I think, of being an actor is being able to balance and manage the psychology of it. It's a business where you will be rejected again and again. And if you choose to look at those rejections as failures, um, you're not only going to have a very difficult time, you're going to find that you're going to be very unhappy a lot of the time. I tell young actors, you cannot derive your sole sense of pleasure from the moments that you are getting validated by having an acting job. First of all, you have to find happiness in your outside life. You also have to look at the rejection as a teacher, not as a failure, and as part of the process. And if you stay rooted in the process, I talk about this in the book, building a bulletproof process. If you want results, the great irony of life is you need to ignore them. You need to ignore results and focus on continually refining the process that will lead to the results. And when you're concentrating on results, your focus is in the future. When your focus is in the future, it's the unknown, and human beings hate the unknown. That's what causes anxiety. Also, if you're focused on the future, which is different than preparing for the future, let me just say that, you're not able to give 100% in the present. And so these are all the strategies and philosophy I talk about in my books. And I have to tell you, when you've written books, you do podcasts, you do interviews, you want people to buy your book, of course. But I want everybody to get these books because I know with every fiber in my being that if you read what I wrote, if you apply it and put it into action, you will change your life. The information in these books is brilliant. And I can say that without sounding arrogant because it's not my information. This is all of our information. It comes from the universe. Did we just lock up? Did you lose me there?
Just for a second, but you're all good now. Can you see
We're
me,
good?
Sean?
Okay. You sort of froze there a couple times. Okay.
Are we good now?
We're good.
Sorry you got cut off, but continue. You're talking about the importance of your books.
Yeah, I was just saying, look, when you have a book, you want to sell it, so you go and you promote it. But it's not just that I want to sell my book. I want people to get this information and change their lives and connect with their own authenticity. My TEDx that I was telling you about, it's about unbecoming, meaning, from the time we're young, we're told um, to become a success, to become a winner, to become something. And maybe, just maybe, that roadmap is flawed. Maybe true success and meaningful happiness is less about becoming something and more about unbecoming. Taking all of the things, the societal pressures, the what we're given from our parents, not that a lot of what we're given isn't good, and a lot of what we see on social media and that we're brainwashed by, it's about stripping that away. And there's a famous quote, which is, can you remember who you were before you were told who to become? And so the TEDx really is an excellent complement to my books. I hope everyone will check it out. You can just Google Sean Kanan and TEDx and it'll come up. And it was actually chosen as the editor's choice by TED.com.
Oh wow, that must have been fantastic to get that type
It was a
of
bucket
validation.
list thing. It really was.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a TED Talk for the longest time. It was one of my goals for last year, and it just kind of wasn't happening. And then I won an award for Way the Cobra. I went to the award show. I met somebody who introduced me to someone else who was a scout for TEDx, and before I knew it, I was doing a TEDx.
Wow. Wow. If anyone hasn't checked it out, just search Sean Kanan TEDx and they'll be able to look at that. And I'll watch that too. Now, Sean,
Please.
if you humor me for a bit, we have some rapid fire questions from the team that they want to know about yourself. In particular, yeah. So in particular, we have one about the Karate Kid tree, which is actually a funny one. Now, every time you came into Mr. Miyagi's tree shop to sort of pick on Daniel with the bully squad, you guys were always turning off the light switches.
Hey, come on, guys. This isn't funny anymore. All right, come on, turn on the lights.
Me as a fan, some of the teams, we'd like to know, why were you guys turning off the lights every time you enter the room?
I think Mike Barnes was photosensitive. I think he had sensitive eyes. I don't know. I really didn't quite understand that. I don't know if it made it look more ominous or whatever. Um, but you're right. I never thought about that. So Snake turns the lights off, right?
Yep, yeah, he does.
And then when I'm in the dojo, I get Mr. Miyagi trounces me, and then my hand goes over the lights and turns it off, right? That's a really astute observation. And all this time, I never kind of put that together. Interesting. I don't
I
know.
was so curious. So, Sean, what is your dream role?
What is my dream role? Boy, that's a tough one. If I was looking backwards at something someone else did, man, I would be lying if I said it would have been a hell of a lot of fun to play Maximus in Gladiator.
I'd watch that. I think you could do that.
Right? But I don't know. I, I I think my dream role is a role where I get to do something that's really sort of outside of my wheelhouse, really get to stretch my wings and play a character that it would be great if I could totally disappear in it, and then afterwards people were like, "Oh my God, that was Sean Kanan. I had no idea." So I don't know, but I do firmly believe that my best role is yet to come. And, I'm as impassioned about acting today as I was when I started as that 20-year-old kid all those years ago. And I think that, passion is it's the touchstone for success, but it has to be paired with action. And I'm just glad that I still have the passion, and I try and be a very proactive person. So I have no doubt that that role is, that which you seek is already seeking you. It's already coming towards me. Can't wait to see what it is.
I look forward to seeing it, Sean.
Thank you,
I love
brother.
yourself as an actor. I think you have a lot more to do, and I'd love to see something even on the lines of a Mike Barnes spin-off for Cobra Kai. I think that'd
You
be
and me
good.
too. That'd be fun.
I'd watch that. I'd watch that. For one of our last rapid fire questions, I have one of your biggest fans in the world is a member of the team, Chloe. She's fantastic. She does a lot. You were talking to her on the emails. So
Yeah.
Chloe's right here on the set. She's gonna
Hi,
pop
Chloe.
right here. Can you hear him? You all good, Chloe?
Hey, Chloe. How are you? Nice to meet
How
you.
are you? Oh, so
It's a
lovely
ple-
to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
I'm a huge fan of yours. Karate Kid
Thank you.
3, Cobra Kai, you in the role as Mike Barnes. Absolutely incredible. Fantastic work.
Thank you very much.
I was dying to show you this today, right? So, Karate Kid 3, one of my favorite movies. So much so that Jamie actually made me a jumper a few years ago of one of my favorite scenes. So, I got to show you here. So, to set the scene, we have Mr. Terry Silver, Mike Barnes. We're in Miyagi's dojo, and you guys stage a fight against Daniel LaRusso, right?
Right.
So, one of the iconic lines we have here. So we have you.
Let
we
him
have
up,
Terry
punk.
Silver.
Let him up, punk.
He's like, let him up, punk. And you turn around and you're like, what are you, his mother?
His mother, maybe.
And he's like,
Right.
maybe. So funny. Absolutely
you.
brilliant. I guess my question then is, do you have any memories from that day on set or filming that or stories from that day?
I do have memories of that day on set. My sensei from Pennsylvania and some of the students from my dojo had flown out to California, and I was able to bring them out to that set and show them around. And
Oh,
that was
wow.
that was really exciting for them. And again, I had been in the audience for the Karate Kid, and so I was, like everybody, intimately familiar with Mr. Miyagi's backyard, right? And then
Yeah.
now I'm in it, right? And I was, and also an amazing feeling in Cobra Kai, 35 years later, returning to what is now Daniel LaRusso's dojo.
I
And
know.
I was, and I, and Ralph and I it was before a scene, and I just looked over and can you believe this? I go, here we are.
All those years later.
He just, and so when that was happening, it gave me kind of a thought. And, that's that line where I think I said something like, yeah, place looks good, or the place looks different, or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But, Yeah, it really was pretty amazing to be there. Another memory that I have um, is they were shooting Lethal Weapon next to us,
Oh wow. Okay.
like right next to where the Miyagi house was the house that was Detective Murtaugh's house, and then like behind it was um, Martin Riggs' trailer that he lived in, and it had all the bullet holes in it. I don't know if you remember the movie. So it was really
It's like
exciting.
a
You know, as a young
stage.
guy, it's
Wow.
like
Yeah.
suddenly it's like, wow, I'm in Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's like you're
Oh, big
really
time.
in
Yeah.
Hollywood. Yeah. So, and you know, to this day, I carry that with me. Like I'm still a fan. I get excited when I meet certain actors. Um, you know, I'm as much a fan as I am an actor. And you know, one of the things I love is you never know as an actor who you're going to wind up working with. You know, somebody that you've been a fan of for years, you might sign on to a project and go, "Oh, wow, I'm working with so and so." And I think
Exactly.
that's
Is
part
there
of what.
anyone you have in mind?
Well, I mean, look, it would be amazing to work with Clint Eastwood. I mean, you know, I've met Clint before, and it was an unbelievable experience just meeting the. Yeah, I remember I met him. It was after I'd done Karate Kid 3, and I was in a bar, and he came in and he shook my hand and he goes, "You got a good look, boy. You should go far." And I was like, "Ah."
Oh my god.
Wow.
Amazing. That's
Yeah,
brilliant. Oh, well, I just wanted to say hello and thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It's so
my
lovely to
pleasure.
meet you again.
Thank
I'm
you.
just going to pass you back to Jamie to finish up.
Okay. Such a
Thanks,
pleasure,
Chloe.
Thank
Chloe.
Appreciate
you.
that.
Take care.
Sean Kanan, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show, sir. I mean,
My pleasure.
for me, this was a real treat because I'm a genuine fan of yours. I'm a huge fan of Cobra Kai, and as I told you, Karate Kid 3 is my favorite of the trilogy. So it's a real to be here today talking to somebody that I watched as a kid, and we're talking as adults about the industry you work in, and you're remarkable in what you do, and I really respect you as a man and an actor. And I can't wait to see what you do next because I think you do some fantastic stuff.
Well, I want to wish you much continued success with what you're doing, and it's such an honor to be able to speak to you know, the Irish people. I mean, so many brilliant Irish actors. I mean, you know, it's just a long, long history of uh, amazing contributions by Irish actors to my business. And like I told you, I did my 23andMe, and I'm actually part Irish, so I'm going to make it to Ireland at some point, and I can't wait to see what the Emerald Isle looks like.
Oh, I can't wait to show you. I mean, look, when you're here, try a Guinness. If you're in Dublin city centre, go to a pub called Fallon's. They have a good pint of
Well,
Guinness if you like Guinness.
my pub days are over, my friend. I hung up those spurs, but
Ah, well, there's plenty of
I'll
coffee
buy you
too.
one. How's that?
That sounds good. Well, I'm glad you're part of the Irish now. I'm getting the wrap here from the team now, Sean. But once again, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure. We just have two members of the team here. Just want to give you a wave. We have Carl and Chris.
Hey, what's
Very,
up,
very
guys?
great.
How are you?
Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Perfect.
All
All right, well,
right.
Sean, thank you again for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Best. Take care. Bye bye.
Woo. Ah, too bright, too bright. Well, that was badass. Sean Kanan, Mike Barnes. He was everything I wanted him to be. I love Cobra Kai. You love Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai was my show. Lockdown 2020. We both got into it. It got me out of a run to watching it. I know it did for you too.
It did, yeah. And I mean, Sean Kanan, if you have seen the Karate Kid 3 like me as a little kid, you're always afraid of him as the bully. But then here he is, grown up, and he's this nice guy, and he's so inviting, and he wants to talk about his life experiences. He was just
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal is the word, yeah.
He's so well spoken in this interview. He's so philosophical, you know. Like he talked about his book as well, you know. And we're buying that book.
The Way to Cobra. We are gonna
Yes,
buy that.
you know, we're not getting paid for this. I want it though.
He also
you know?
had a TED talk on it. It was a TEDx talk or something where he was talking about where he sort of what he was saying in the interview was a taster for what that TED talk's going to be. So that's something.
I'm gonna be looking forward to it. I'm gonna save that once it comes out. I'm not gonna you listen to it in the interview, but yeah, that story is beautiful. It's so like it's mad. You kind of go to show how fast this industry kind of moves. Even of course back in the 80s, you know, it was the Wild West even more back then. So like just to think that we might not have actually gotten them at all, you know.
True. And he was saying such cool shit, like how he met Clint Eastwood at a bar. As in Clint Eastwood just came up to him and was like, you got a look, you've got a good look. And he was like, wow. Just that. He just had
That's
so many...
probably life-changing. You could have did Eastwood, you know? And yeah, like, also I gotta say, the funniest thing ever was him reacting to her hoodie. That is...
Yeah, let him up, punk. I made that for Chloe a Christmas or two ago because she loved that scene, you know?
It is a genuine, like, that scene is so iconic. And
get it up there, Chris. It's
show the
camera.
Should be wearing it right now, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Terry Silver.
Punk.
And then you got Mike Barnes there. We're not selling these, but if you want us to start selling them,
we can sell them.
You know? And then, of course, we have to find out about the light switch.
The light switch was always a question I had, because when you watch Karate Kid 3, every time Mike Barnes enters the scene to torment Daniel, Snake, the bully, turns off a light switch. Every time, for no reason. What is the point of that? Then later on, when Mike comes into the original Cobra Kai dojo to torment Daniel again, he falls when Miyagi hits him, and he hits off the light switch. Why?
Don't know. I don't think, to be honest with you now, I'm thinking, I just don't think it was intentional.
I don't know. I just think it's cool. We're talking to a guy who actually knew Mr. Miyagi.
And not to mention, he's acted alongside so many iconic people, you know, like it's crazy. You know, I'm so glad he said yes to this. You know, he didn't have to.
That's true. Yeah. He has so much going on. He's a busy guy. And I mean, his stories, man, when he was making the Karate Kid 3, he was saying that behind the Miyagi garden, there was a set of Lethal Weapon, and we had Murtaugh's house, and we had Riggs' trailer. That's just, as a movie fan, you can imagine the history that Sean would have witnessed.
Yeah. Well, look, I only wish him the best in his career. You know, I'm going to be getting his Way to Cobra. I'm going to get, I don't know.
I want to see the Mike Barnes spin-off. I want to see the Mike Barnes spin-off and the Young Kreese spin-off. They're my two.
Yes. Hopefully we'll get some friends. We'll get some more Cobra Kai Karate Kid people on. Who knows? Yeah. But Mike Barnes, he was a treat. He was. Anyway, guys, that does it for today's video. It's been a pleasure to have you. Join us and talk to a real Cobra, Sean Kanan. It's been a pleasure as always. Big thanks to Sean for coming on the show, and thank you for watching. See you later. See you later, guys.